All right, welcome. My name is Brother Stevic. I am your instructor for ITM 220, Database Design and Administration. I think that's what it's called, but I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what we're going to be doing, Database Design and Administration. This is a 13 and 14-week class, 13-week class. The 14th week doesn't count, it's your final exam week, where we will cover a lot of topics in the world of databases. Mostly how to install them, and code for database and a couple other things. So we'll be going through that. Um, Welcome, Nick. I'm Kyle and Charlton. Where'd Nick come from? Oh, Latin, maybe Nordic. Um, uh, so what we're gonna do tonight, so each week we'll meet and I will go over the lesson for that week, tell you what to look for, what you need to worry about, and answer any questions you have. Talk about I do a lot of talking about things that aren't in the book. They're just, if you're interested in being a database administrator or working databases, I'm going to cover a lot of the deep doctrinal stuff that we don't talk about in the class, like, how the database is stored on the disk and how indexes actually work and things like that. Not part of the course, but I figure if you're going to come here and spend an hour with me, I might be able to give you some information that you're not going to see in the book, right? I try to keep it light, um, like with my Minecraft temple in the back. Uh, Avid Minecraft player, still been doing it a couple of years. So, what we're gonna do tonight is we're gonna go over what to expect from the class, what an average week in the class looks like for you guys, what the expectations are. We're gonna talk a little bit about starting how to program a database or how to write the code for it, and I'll show you some code examples, and then we'll be done for the night. Unless you have any questions. All right. So, just a little about me. My name is Brother Stevic, Don Stevic. I've been a database guy for about 25 years at this point, a little bit more maybe. I started life as a drama teacher, got my master's degree in acting, and decided that wasn't making money. So I went into IT. I fixed computers for a while, and then I did databases. I've been doing them ever since. I currently am the database operations manager at a company called Leidos, where I have a team of 10 database administrators who help me make the database continue to work. So this class is about the how to administer databases, how to get them running, how to fix them when they're broken, how to kind of like, just a general understanding of them. The week is comprised of, let me see what here. The week is comprised of basically three tasks that you'll do. The first task you're going to do, now this week you got the icebreaker. That's it. That's the only time you use the discussion boards. Um, just tell a little about yourself, introduce yourself in front of the class. The first assignment you'll do every week is the preparation and reading. There is a group of things you're asked to read. Now, a couple of things on that. Number one, the book you get is free. You can get online. I have an announcement about that and how to do it in case you're having problems with it. It's a little clunky to get it, but it's there for you to use. If you're going to be a DBA, would I buy the book? Absolutely not. I would not recommend buying a book on SQL because SQL changes like every other year. So there's no point in the code stays the same. The language is always the same, but how you use it and the mechanics behind it, really, that's what the internet is for. The internet is a great tool. It has everything you want there. Um, Someone has me on. I hear myself here. So I think Wilford, can you mute? Thank you, mute. Thank you, Wilford. How you doing tonight? So, the book. Get your hands on the book. Use it as a reference book. Don't try to read the book. Uh, yeah, no worries. Um, the I don't know if you've ever tried to read a technical book before. They're not pleasant. They're not made to be pleasant. They're not like, a fun book. They're not like, the Cosmere stuff or anything like that. That's not a thing. Um, look up stuff you need. When you're looking at this, when you look at the first assignment for the week, you'll get week one, prep reading. You'll have the chapters to read. But there's these PowerPoint slides. Look at those. Those are good. They are the condensed version of what the book says. And then you've got these websites. I very much suggest that you go to these websites. The stuff that's there is updated because it's a website. It's not static like a book. And these are probably good to bookmark for you in life because you'll always have to go back. I've been doing this 20 plus years. Sometimes I forget how to do things. I gotta go back and look stuff up. Never be ashamed of looking stuff up. You don't expect it. There's a lot of information to be had here. Feel always. I've always told my students. I've always told my employees. Knowing the answer isn't as important as where to find the answer. If you know where to find the answer, you're in a good place. So you got these websites here. Visit them, understand them. Then what your tasks are, and then what this is what you're supposed to learn this week. This is what we're going to talk about on the weeks here. So during our weekly meetings, this is the part that we'll be talking about. So you'll be learning it from me, or at least getting a rundown. Okay. Second thing to do every week is exercises. This week is really easy. It's just 4 questions. Did you read the book? Do you know what's going on? Subsequent weeks, the exercises are going to be asking you to write queries off the Sakilla database. The Sakilla database is the default database that comes with MySQL, and you'll write queries off of that. Those will be graded. Next thing you got is a quiz. The quizzes are open book. They're open notes. They're call your friend who's taken the same class. They're get AI to help you answer. I don't care. I'm not going to. We don't use Proctorio in this class. I'm proud to say because it's a horrible piece of software. So I embrace the fact that you guys are going to look stuff up. And you know what? That's how we do it in the real world. If you got a question, you can answer it. I'm off to the internet to find stuff. So you'll have 13 of these quizzes every week, 5 or 6 questions. And what do I want to say? The final exam for this class is from the same pool of questions that the quizzes are from. So the quizzes each have like a pool of like 50 possible questions, and you get 10 of them. And the final exam has 100 and some odd questions, and you get 100 of them from the 13 different pools. If you choose the final exam, we'll get to that in a second. The final thing you'll do every week is the paper. What is the paper? Well, it used to be the stupid writing assignment that they made us do. And I didn't like it because it was like, you're at a company and you learned how to write Slack statements. Tell me why they're awesome. That doesn't teach you anything. So we redesigned it to where it's more of you're a DBA working for a company. You got a customer who's not really sure what they want. Do this for them, and you make it happen. So every week you're going to be given instructions from your stakeholder on what to do. This particular week, you need to create the Possum Pets database. This is the code to do it. And then there's a bunch of things down here. So this particular week asks you to. There's something called the CLI, the command line interface. It's basically a command prompt. You can run the databases through there. Then you're asked to create the database through the workbench and then decide which one you like better. I won't tell you which one I like better until afterwards. The writing assignments are generally, here's the work you need to do. Please tell me why you did what you did, and then some questions after that. We got some reflection questions here. Please make sure to answer all the questions. It's not very difficult. Just what do you think? Give me your opinion. I want to know your opinion. I want to know what you think. I want to know if you thought it was hard. I want to know where you're struggling. That's kind of what this is. This assignment here is my favorite to grade because this is like me talking to you. So I get an idea of where you're at, where your head's at, what you need help on, and stuff like that. All right. So those are the assignments that you get. Every week you got them. Nothing changes. The only difference is next week on week 2, for the writing assignment is not a writing assignment. You have to make a video for me. You're going to be asked to make some change to the database. And instead of writing it down, I'm going to ask you to do a 3-minute video and explain to me what you did. Why am I making you do a video? Seems odd in this class. Well, let me tell you. Remember that who here, any of you guys have used Proctorio before? Do you like Proctorio? No, no. So we made it. The reason why you have to use Proctorio is because we've got to prove that you're who you say you are when you're doing an assignment in the class. So what we were told was that if you do a video presentation for one of your assignments, we don't have to use Proctorio. So that's why we ask you to use the video assignment for week 2. You come in, you're who you are, and we never have to do it again. I think week 6 still talks about using Proctorio. I got to remember to delete that. It comes back every semester and delete it every semester. All right. So now the variance. Remember I told you about the final exam. You have an option. You can do a final exam or you can do a final project. Either or. You don't do both, you choose one. And around week 3, you decide what you're going to do. We're going to talk about this much more later on week 3 when I introduce the concept to you and we walk through what this is actually done. But for the final project, you're going to develop a database from scratch on your own. You're going to come up with a company idea, company that needs a database. You're going to create the database to support that application. And then you're going to kind of mock up a front end. You don't actually have to write a front end, just mock it up what it would do. I've had students do all sorts of things. I had one student who was a space enthusiast, and he did a database, or rather, she did a database tracking all the rocket launches across time, where they went, who was on them, stuff like that. One person, I think my favorite one there did one student made a database that was tracked their food storage, but it was also attached to a recipe book. So you could find out, it'll say, what can I make with what I've got? And it would search through the database and get the ingredients and show you the recipes that you can make with what you had on hand. So you kind of get the idea. Not an existing business, unless, and a lot of students have done this, if a member of your family has a business and they need a database, feel free to design the database for them. Okay? Make sense? Much more detail later. Week 3, this starts. If you choose to do the final option, the final project, this paper changes. Instead of doing this assignment where you're doing the POS and Pets database, the week 3 assignment, the week 3 writing assignment becomes a journal entry to me telling me how you're doing on the final project. Do you have any questions? Show me your code. Show me your stuff. That's what it's for. Okay. What if I start doing the final project and week 10, something happens, I'm not gonna be able to finish it. Am I gonna be in trouble? Nope. If you get to week 10 and you can't finish it, that's totally fine. Just do the final exam. I've been teaching since the bleak days of COVID, and I know in this class at some point in time, someone's gonna get sick, someone's gonna have a baby, or their wife's gonna have a baby, or someone they know is gonna have a baby. You may lose a loved one. Stuff happens all the time. So understand that I know that happens. Just let me know what's going on and where you're going with this, uh, so I can be prepared and help you where I can. For example, one semester, a student's father died in week 11, and I excused him for the rest of the work for the semester because I wasn't going to have him like try to do a final exam grieving his dad. That would be horrible. I'm not sure if I was allowed to do it, but no one said I couldn't, so that's kind of how I play sometimes. Now, to that effect, I will accept late work up until week 10. After week 10, I don't take it at all. So you have until the Saturday of week 10 to turn. If you're late, if you're going to be a couple hours late, a couple days late, that's fine. Just get it to me for week 10. Anything after week 10 late, I no longer accept. I think that's fair. But I do ask that if you're going to be late with stuff, let me know what's going on. Say, hey, I'm going to be late. This happened. This happened. I don't need details. Just give me a heads up that something went on and that you need to turn stuff in late. I'm trying to do as best I can in this weird online class thing that we do to prepare you for like going into the workplace and like having an actual project to do that you get paid for and being late on it. Never worry about going to your your supervisor or your manager that's going to be late, let them know why. Keep open lines of dialogue, and you generally won't have a problem unless it's like a has to be done by then. But you'll know that when it starts. Okay, did I cover all that stuff? Cover the reading, quizzes, blah 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 blah. All right. Any questions on anything I've said? No. All right. Also, just so you know, this meeting is recorded. I posted to YouTube on my channel. Like and subscribe. I have 17 subscriptions. I'm doing great. I'm also putting I'll also put the transcript because my good friend AI is transcribing this for me, and we'll put that on the meeting notes too. So that'll all be there. Oh, speaking of AI, use it. I think it's a great tool. Um, there are parts of the final project that actually I will tell you to use it for because writing the code is laborious and you don't want to be writing the code like that. But there's only very specific things you can use it for. AI can't do everything that we want it to. So use it as a tool, not as the answer. Does that make sense? It's if you have a question on something, you don't understand something, how does a foreign key work? Ask it. It will tell you. Remember to be polite because if you watched any movies, AI will eventually take over the world, and they will let us, the people who are nice to it, they'll remember when we said thank you to Alexa. That's all I'm saying. Um, but use that tool, have it help you. It can check your code. It can't write the code for you. It will get it wrong. I will guarantee it will get it wrong every time. All right. Now, let's talk about databases. This is the MySQL Workbench that you'll be doing most of your work in. Okay. So in SQL Server back in 1963, when databases started being computerized, they came up with a language called transactional. Uh, oh my, I forgot. It's query language. Something query language. Structured. That's it. Transactional structured query language. Or T-SQL for short. T-SQL, any databases speaks T-SQL. They all speak T-SQL. It's the same language, whether you're doing Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, Postgres, MongoDB, Cassandra. What else is out there in the hemispheres? NoSQL. Some of the stuff even works in Excel. Some of the stuff even works Microsoft Access. I think so. It's the same language. It's an interesting language because it's simple. Which one of you guys, anyone program in C Sharp, C++, J Sharp, anything like that? Those aren't English. Those have words that don't exist in English. Everything in T-SQL is English. One of these weeks, I'm going to get into how everything's stored on the database, how the guts of the database works, because I find that incredibly interesting. But tonight, I want to talk about basics. So there are T-SQL is a language, and there are 5 dialects, 2 of which we were in this class. One is called DDL, and one is called DML. DDL is data design language. Is that data definition language? And DML is data manipulation language. I know I'm bad at spelling and I know I'm bad at typing, so we just embrace that here. Data definition language. This is the creation. So data definition language are what control the objects in the database, how you create them, how you change them, and how you get rid of them. Tables, indexes, views, constraints, all these things are created. There are 3 commands. They're create, alter, and drop. Told you it was English. Create creates things, alter changes things, and drop drops things. DML, data manipulation language. This is the language you use when you're dealing with the data in the database. How do you populate a table? How do you take data out of a table? How do you insert table? How do you delete stuff from a table? Okay. They are select, insert, update, delete. There's a secret one that we'll talk about later, because it's a dangerous one. It's the nuclear option of the DMLs. Okay, that's spelled wrong. I don't like that. There we are. Okay, so you notice when I type these words, they turn blue. So when you're using SQL Workbench, if you type a clause, these are called clauses, a clause, it changes the color to blue. So you know you've typed it right. All right. So what do these do? So here, let's say I want to create a database for a bookstore. This is the command. Create database if not exists, shelf indulgence. Create database tells you what to create the database. Shelf indulgence tells you what to name the database. If not exists, tell you if it doesn't exist, make it. If it does exist, back off. It's already there. Stop. And I've made a database. And I go over here and I refresh this. And look, there it is. That's how easy it is. In other databases, you got to be more specific. Where do you want to put the data files? You got a whole stuff. But in MySQL, just boom, it's there. They all go into the same place. This is the most important command. This use command. It's just a general command, but this is the one you're going to forget to do the most of the time. Whenever you try to run a query, you've got to start with this use command because you're telling which database to use. Notice I've got several databases over here. I've got Adventure, NASA, Possum Pets, Sakilla 2, all these things, right? If I don't tell it which database to use, it's going to reject the query saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what your table. So make sure this one's always there. Okay. So if I want to drop the database, I just do drop database. And that drops it. All right. Here we go. Create a table. I want a table. Tables are the building blocks of the database. Y'all familiar with Excel? Okay. So consider each tab in Excel a table. Okay. Because Excel is a database. Excel is a database. Access is a database. This notebook is a database. Anything that holds data is a database. The difference is when you're looking at a database engine, like we're talking about with MySQL, when you put something in Excel, people make these Excel spreadsheets that are insane. There's like 60,000 columns and 20 million rows, and it has everything you possibly want to know about everything in one spreadsheet. This is a bad way to do things because you never know where you're looking. Excel got fancy now, so you can have different tabs, and you can connect them using macros or different queries. So you're getting more and more like a database. When we talk about MySQL, T-SQL, Oracle, they're what we call relational database models, RDMs. This is because in a database, you have tables, and the tables hold your data. And a table can only have one thing of data in it. It can't have, if you were doing the bookstore, right? I have got a bookstore table, creating table inventory. I wouldn't have a table called stuff and have the customers, the employees, the books, and everything in it in the same database, in the same table. I have different tables for everything. So here I'm creating a table for inventory, the books that I have. In the table, I've got columns: book ID, title, author name, price, and stock. Okay. So the anatomy of this is This is the command to create the table. This is the table name. By the way, I'm gonna be the term is drinking from a fire hose. So I'm throwing a lot of information at you today, but every week after this, we're gonna go back and break these down. This is just kind of get your head around the idea of all this stuff. I don't expect anyone to remember this stuff now. We'll talk next week. Create table tells you create the table. Inventory tells you the name of the table. Then you open the parentheses, and then you got the book ID, which is the name of the first column, which means in an ID column. The next command in there, this int, is the data type. This means number. Primary key tells you that this is the main index point of the table. Next column's name is title. That's varchar 100. This means it can have 100 up to 100 characters of a name. Not null means it has to have something in there. Author name, varchar 100. It doesn't say not null, which means it can be null. Price decimal, stock count integer, and then we end it. And that table's created. So I've got this. Let me use my shelf. And let me create my table. Refresh. And there's my table. Oh no, I forgot to add an ISBN number. Whatever shall I do? I'll alter the table. Alter table tells me what I'm going to do. Inventory tells me what I'm going to do it to. What am I going to do? I'm going to add a column. I'm going to call it ISBN. It's going to be varchar 20. So go here in columns. It's not there. I run this. It's now there. I don't like the, I want the title. I only have it 100 characters. I need to be 255. Now it's 255. I don't like the name table. I don't like the name info. I want to call it books. Now it's books. Nothing's permanent here. You can make all the changes you want. A lot of changes better made before you put data in the table. After it becomes a little more complicated. Creating an index. What is an index? An index is what you think it is. Same thing in the back of a book. It tells you where to find things. Tables need indexes run faster. We'll talk more about those week 6 or 7. But we create them. I'm creating an index on the books table. What I'm doing, creating an index. What's it called? That. It's on the books table. And I'm using the column title to be an index, which means I can look up by title. Let me do that. Everyone with me so far? Everyone good? All right. No, I don't want that index anymore. I'm going to drop the index. Now the index is gone. Create a view. A view is I mentioned to Lisa, I'll tell you anyway. So what a view is, it's like it says here, it's like a display window. So I'm going to tell you a secret about database people. We don't trust people to touch our databases. We're just sure that they're going to break something and put something in there wrong and mess something up. So we try to find ways to let them look, but not touch. Right? So if we let them look at the actual table, there might be some problems with that. They might see stuff they're not supposed to see. They may not understand what's supposed to be there because the columns on it make sense to them. It might be in a weird order. Maybe the information's in multiple tables, and if they look only at the one table, they're not going to see everything they need to see. What we can do is we can create a view. And a view allows me to create a statement that brings data back to the customer where they don't have to run the entire query. They just ask to look at the view. And it's presented in a way that they would understand. So I'll create my view. Again, we'll talk about these much later. And then, change my mind. I don't want to do this at all. I'm just going to drop the table. And now the table's gone. Gone forever. Can't never get back. Everything there's gone. Oh, I didn't want that database anyway. I'm just going to drop the database. Done. Now, this is going to screw up everything up because I need these tables here for The next part of this, I'm going to put everything back. Okay. What I'm doing, by the way, is if you whatever is highlighted is what runs. So if I just want this part to run, I just highlight it and then hit the little lightning bolt there. All right. Everyone with me on DDL. All right. Cool beans. Now, we've got these great tables, but there's nothing in them. How do we put stuff in them? Yeah. The insert statement. The insert statement lets me put data into the tables. What am I doing? I'm inserting into. What am I inserting into? The books table. Book ID, title, author name, price, stock count, ISBN. What am I putting there? 1, The Way of Kings, Brandon Sanderson, 29.99, 15, and there's the ISBN. And now, what happened here? Some errors. Create table inventory. Oh, look what I did. I forgot this. I said, always remember this, and I forgot to use that. Now everything failed. Now it'll work again. Okay. Here we are. All right. So now we insert into the table. It's there. So my one row is there. What if I insert like 30 rows? Well, that's a problem. Well, I can do, I don't have to do an insert statement for each one of them. I can do insert into books with that information and then values with an S and just put all that there. And they're all in there now. Okay. How do I know? Here's my select statement. And that's everything that's in there so far. Seems pretty simple, right? Because it really kind of is. It gets complicated, trust me. We do a lot of some weird stuff here. So now, what I want to select stuff. Star, I want everything in that table from the books table. Give me everything from that books table. That's great. I don't want everything from the books table. I just want the title and the price. Can I do that? Yeah. Select title, price from books. Okay. It gets very granular. I just want to see books by a specific author. Brandon Sanderson, sure, let's do this. There's 2 books by him. I think we need to drop the price of Way of Kings. It's been out for a while. Let's go ahead and do this. So here, what am I doing? I'm updating. What am I updating? The books table. I'm setting that price equal to 25, where the title is The Way of Kings. And now it's $25. You know what? I'm gonna have a sale. Everything's, this is a really bad way to do this. Don't ever do sales this way on databases. I just did this quickly to make a point. Update books. Okay. I'm going to set the price to the price times 0.9, reducing everything by 10% permanently. And it worked. Action Comics #1 is not $1,350. It is more like $22 million. But we got a really bad copy. All right. I don't want book ID #3. What is book ID #3? We've sold that. We don't want the Great Gatsby anymore. We don't like that book. Delete from books where book ID is 3. All right. That's ID 3. Is it gone? Yep. It's gone. I want to see everything in the books table, but I want it displayed by price. Yeah. Now it's giving me from the most expensive to the least expensive. Okay. So this is not the most difficult thing in the world. It's really very simple at the outset. All we're doing is creating a structure to house data in a rational, reasonable way, what they call normalized, and then providing a way for the information to go into and back out of that database so people can get it and understand it. Um, we used to have an assignment in this class where you were asked to go to a website that you think had a database and kind of describe what you thought it would look like. This was on week two. Is a really evil thing to do because most people didn't even know what database were at that point in time. So how would you describe something you don't know? And I would tell people, don't choose like Family Search or Amazon or database like that because those are big, scary databases with like thousands and thousands of tables. Turns out, in one of the classes I taught, I don't know why he was in my class, but he was on the database team for Family Search, and he showed me that database, and I was correct. Had thousands and thousands of tables. Um, but everything is at its simplest, saying a database is a structure that holds data that people want, and it's our job to give it to them in a way they will understand. Because let me take this one here. What do I want here? Nope, I want you. I want that. What a database looks like in its native form. Nope, I don't want that one. I want, give me you. This is what a database looks like in its native form. Make sense? Everyone understand what that is? No. This is what we refer to as an entity relationship diagram or an ERD. Um, this is a visual representation of the traffic jam that a database is. All these tables hold specific information, and they're all connected to each other in a way. I've got the people table here. I've got the film table here. And when I put my cursor over it tells you what database is connected to. So film is connected to language because movies are shot in languages. It's connected to the actor table because there's actors in films. It's connected to the category table, but they're not directly like, it's like, here's film category and here's film, but film and category don't connect to it. They connect through this one. So this is how we look at the database, but this is what a database is. And this is a confusing piece of information for someone who doesn't understand how they work. By the end of week three, you will understand what this is. And you'll be able to walk through it and figure out what it is because we're going to design one together on week three. Yeah, week three. So but yeah, so we're taking this and making it accessible. Every database, if you go to Netflix, if you go to what Family Search, any Amazon, they're all databases. Everything's powered. This powers everything. Um, this is why database engineers and database administrators will never be out of a job because AI can't do this. I don't think they ever will be able to. I don't think it's ever be smart enough. I use AI a lot, so anyway. All right. I feel that you're probably thoroughly confused at this point in time, which was my goal for the night. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts on anything really? We can talk Cosmere. I read Sanderson. We're good. Let's talk about it. Obviously, I put him all over the place in this thing.
What is the most impressive database you've seen?
Oh, the Family Search by no that thing was like so well designed because you got to figure. First of all, that thing is probably about 4 or 5 exabytes at this point in time. Kyle heard exabyte and went, "What? They make it that big?" Yeah. The database in the company I work for just hit petabytes 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So we're in the petabytes now. But yeah, it's I will always refer to databases as works of art because there has to be a flow to the design. You can't just put things anywhere and expect it to work. But yeah, that was a pretty impressive database. After that, I've seen a couple schemas. I've seen the Amazon database. I was in a conference, and one of the Amazon like lead DBAs came out and like showed a small portion of the database. Um, Here's an interesting thing that came from that conference. You all have heard the cloud, right? You've heard of the cloud. Have you heard of the mist? No? Okay. So we know the cloud is data that's held in an organized data that's held in other people's computers because the cloud is just other people's computers, right? So what the mist is if you have a smartwatch, if you have a Bluetooth scale, if you've got a thermostat that goes on the internet, if you've got a garage door that goes on the internet, if you've got anything that goes on the internet, all that data is spewing out of those devices with nowhere to go. It's all in the mist. So the mist is exabytes and exabytes of uncategorized data that people can grab and identify with. I'm assuming most of you are on social media. Have you ever had the experience where you've been talking to someone near your phone or another device and you said, "Hey, I would really love to buy a Porsche one day. That'd be fantastic when I'm rich." And then you logged into social media and there was an ad for a Porsche. That's not accidental. That's by design. So the mist, and this is what this guy was telling me about, he was talking to us about, the mist is all this unstructured data that's out there. And if you can figure out how to structure it and monetize it, you're rich. Um, and what's out there now too is people's DNA mappings. Because if you send your DNA to specifically to 23andMe, that's all out in the mist. So when people were worried about identity theft, I'm like, all my stuff's out there, dude. I'm not worried about it. I got all the protections in place, so don't worry about that. Anyway, I do tangents like this a lot. So but yeah, uh the database I worked the first company I worked for as a DBA, we were a title insurance agency, and we held in our databases all the property data for the entire country. So I could search and look for anyone's house anywhere in the country. So we all that information came into us in the form of spreadsheets that we had to turn into this. That was a pretty impressive setup that I was a part of. But yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions, comments, thoughts, concerns? All right. Well, then we'll end a little early today. Um, I try to be as accessible to you guys as possible. You've got the messaging through Canvas. Um, I gave you my phone number, I think, in the one of the first announcements. There's Microsoft Teams. If you're on that, which I think all students are, there's my email address. You got 4 or 5 ways to get in touch with me. Feel free to do so. If you're going to phone call me, that's fine. Just remember, I'm Eastern time zone. So if it's 11 o'clock by you, it's 1 o'clock by me. And there's no good phone calls after 11 o'clock. Just always remember that. Um, so just text me, Teams me, get me on Canvas, ask me the question. I'll be happy to answer them. Usually takes me doesn't take me if you text me, I'll answer almost right away, but Teams or especially Canvas, I got to log into my computer for. But yeah, I enjoy teaching this class. I've done it for a very long time. I love this topic. I know too much about it. So if you ever have questions that like seem out of left field, feel free to ask them because I will answer them. Um, because I find my favorite thing is the ERD, how everything functions, particularly how I can talk and I will talk for about 20 minutes, but I can talk even longer about it on how the data is structured on the hard drives, because that's a very specific thing that happens and how the indexes work in correlation to that. and how the indexes are a separate part of the database. They're not attached to anything. Anyway, more for next time. But if there are no questions, then I thank you for showing up and keep in touch, and I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see
Bye
ya.
bye. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye bye.